So we'll start with an easy one.
Okay, great. Softball.
Yeah,
Hit me with softball.
There's a Sex and the City reference in the movie, and people used to play around with, like, I'm a Carrie or I'm a Samantha. So which one of these gals and how to be single would be you?
Thank you for asking. I wish I could say I'm a Robin. I'm a little bit more, I'm like a combo platter of I was an Alice, and then I was a Lucy, and then sadly I was a Meg. I was all those people, because, I like to put a lot of myself into anything I work on, because I find that when you're writing from a place that's really true and honest, and like this stuff has actually happened to me, you can be funnier, and the audience can sense that it's real, because it's real. Right. So a lot of that stuff came from like weird real life things.
I guess, can you talk a little bit about which aspects of those characters most say you? I heard that Lucy is kind of a little bit you because of your penchant for statistics.
My type A super nerd self. Yeah, I mean, the Lucy character comes a lot from the fact that I felt like at a certain point in time I wanted to like research things about love. I had just been recently broken up with, and somebody kind of like trampled on my heart, and I really fell apart, and I sort of couldn't believe how badly I fell apart, so I started doing a lot of research into like the science of love and sex. And in my travels, one of the things I stumbled on was This American Life episode where this Harvard professor, she was talking about being single and saying that, she one day in class started to try to actually figure out the math of what it would be like to try to find somebody who actually satisfied all the requirements that she had. So she was like, well, I want someone who's taller than me. And of course it's like, oh, but you're 6 foot. That's really tall. And, oh, yeah, but I mean, I went, I'm teaching at Harvard, so like I got to have somebody who like went to college and, preferably grad school. And then by the time she had done all of her sort of requirements, like, gotta want kids, like, gotta be a little bit Jewish. All of a sudden they realized there was like one person on the planet Earth that could possibly date this woman if like she got all of her qualities satisfied. So that was the jumping off point for the Lucy character. And then in terms of how it relates to myself, I think like, I had a sort of list of all the things I thought were important to find in a guy, and in my head, because I'm such a nerd, I was like, I don't know, I'll make a to-do list and find love that way. And so I sort of made my to-do list of all the different things I wanted with a guy, no pun intended. I met my husband, and he just like didn't check off a single box on my list, and it just sort of didn't compute. I was like this like podcast nerd who like couldn't wait to listen to more NPR, and he's like, let's do sports and exercise, and I'm like, what is exercise? What does that mean? And so we just like sort of had nothing in common, and but he just loved me, and I loved him. And that's kind of where the Meg character, the Leslie Mann character, comes in with me, is that I was 32 and he was 25 years old when I met him. And I was like, oh man, you're like an infant. I called him the embryo because he was so young. It was so crazy. I was like, your cells, they're like starting to divide, but they haven't divided all the way. And so he was like 25 years old, and he was like, let's get married and have a bunch of babies. And I was like, I don't believe you. No 25-year-old guy. He was at the time living in New York City. I'm like, no 25-year-old guy living in New York City wants to like get married and have babies. Like, that's crazy. And so I kept kind of pushing him away, sort of the way that the Meg character pushes away Jake Lacey's character when he comes into her life, because they just sort of didn't believe it. And then he was like, you're nuts and I love you, and just like stop fighting it. We're gonna get married and have kids. And I was like, all right, I guess, man. And then cut to 7 years later, we have 3 kids and we're happily married. So a lot of me made its way into this movie.
Yeah, you can't predict it, right?
Absolutely.
So there's a couple other writers credited on this who
You're amazing, yeah.
Who I assume did the first pass, probably.
They did. They had an amazing script already sort of in place. Abby and Mark are great writers, and I come from a school where I kind of went down the TV route briefly, and I created a television show, and so I got really used to the idea of being really collaborative with other writers, and I really love that. So for me, I want all of the smartest, best, most creative voices I can find. I mean, Abby and Mark, they're amazing. A friend of mine, Katie Silverman, is a really talented writer, and she's a producer on this movie and was there on set every day. And she was throwing out jokes left, right, and center. She's a badass. She's amazing. Her voice is like very much in this movie. So I sort of saw myself as like the keeper of the voice and the person who kind of had to like make the whole thing feel really real and really compelling. And then I would take a good idea from literally anyone. Like if there was like a janitor walking by and they had a good idea, I'd be like, this guy's awesome. Like put him in the movie. So there was a lot of talent that kind of went behind this movie for sure.
That brings me to my next question, which is, I assume Rebel Wilson was queen of the alts.
Oh my God, she's amazing. She's like she's like an alt monster. She's so awesome. She's so professional. She shows up to work every day, has the script memorized, and then says, I wrote these 15 jokes, like, what do you like, what do you think? And then you'd go over the jokes with her, and you'd say, I love that one, okay, try this, maybe that. And on the day, in the moment, she would be incredible at just kind of coming out with stuff. Leslie Mann is the same way, Dakota Johnson's incredible at improvisation. You know, even down to our smallest people in the movie, like, we would try to hire people for that skill because that's the kind of movie we wanted to make. So even the smallest parts, Jason Mantzoukas plays the guy that, you know, Alison Brie ends up with at the end of the movie. And Alison Brie is such a badass. We were like, okay, we got to have someone who can really hold their own against her. And, you know, Jason Mantzoukas can just, like, crush on improv. Like, there's nobody like him. So even for the smaller parts, we got people who were just, like, just awesome and just brought it on the day.
So this movie looks at different facets of being single. Looking for Mr. Right, looking for Mr. Right now, drinking oneself into oblivion, single parenthood, licking the wounds from past relationships. You're married now, as you mentioned.
I am, yeah.
What most resonates with you from your own single days, and what moral of the story stamps did you want to add to the source material, his two shows?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, what it was about was, I feel very strongly that I kind of went through a journey as a single person that was, I started out in relationships constantly trying to like be whatever that particular guy wanted me to be. And so I have a lot of aspects of my personality. I'm like a super three-dimensional person, and so I'm like a little crazy, but I'm also very thoughtful. I'm really heart-centered, but I'm also kind of a nerd, and I'm this, I'm that. I'm all these things, but I would sort of choose like whatever the greatest hits of me were to be the guy, be the person that the guy wanted me to be. And I kept finding myself in relationships that didn't work because I couldn't sustain it because it wasn't really fully me. And you know, the hardest thing that you can possibly do, you know, everybody talks about how hard it is to sort of find somebody, but I actually think the hardest thing in the world is trying to find yourself. And so you have to figure out a way to like stop the bullshit, let, you know, the bull, you know, crap. Let your hair down and like be a mess in front of someone and like show them who you really are. And because life is really hard, and so if you do happen to make it work with someone, like bad stuff is going to happen, and you want to know that you're with someone who you can get through that with. So you got to show them all your tough stuff. You got to show them all your faults, all your bad side, and then you have to find somebody who can fall in love with your particular brand of crazy. Because like you're gonna be crazy, because like we're all crazy. Everybody's crazy for one reason or another, and you just have to let them see that, so that you attract the right person to you. And that was kind of the message I wanted to put out there. And not only that, I really wanted to say to people, like, I have a lot of friends who are, you know, getting older or whatever, and or younger friends who just like haven't found that person. And I wanted to say, like, you know, society tells you that you have to be married and have kids before you like mean anything as a human, and that's just not true. Like, some people never find that. Some people have their family and their friends, and I kind of just wanted to sort of say to everybody, like, life is hard, you're doing a good job, like, keep messing up, you're awesome, it's gonna be okay.
And this movie will be there for you whenever you need it.
You can just watch it over and over and over again. Well, that's the other thing I kind of love about the movie is like there's something sort of for everyone in the movie, and I find that, you know, the more we show it to people, the more people are relating to whatever in their specific life journey they're going through at that moment. They're like, oh my God, that was me right there. And then, you know, people with kids will look at it and go like, oh my God, it touched me so much about having kids. Or people who are married are really touched by it. People who are single are really touched by it. So it's been really gratifying to see how much people seem to feel good about that.
So you came of age in upstate New York.
Oh yeah, I did.
Did you have any single girl adventures in the Big Apple before you moved out here?
Oh my God, I wish. That sort of was always a fantasy of mine, honestly, because I, like everybody else, kind of grew up with that sort of like fantasy of being like a girl in the city, and I never quite got that with New York, but being from Rochester, which is basically like Canada, it's like poor man's Toronto. I love it to death. God bless you, Rochester. But you know, to me, New York City was like Europe. Like, I couldn't believe how amazing it was. And I never really got to have that sort of single girl in the city experience there. And then I came out to Stanford and went to Stanford and just loved it out here and lived a little bit in the Bay Area. But over my years at Stanford, I did get to do a year in Paris as part of my school program, and that was kind of like, that was my big single girl in the city stuff where I was like, I drank way too much. Like, I actually got like a beer injury in Paris at one point. So now that I'm thinking about it, I actually do have a little bit of Rebel Wilson in me too.
Yeah.
But only for like a couple months. I was like too much of a nerd to get too deeply into that. But yeah, I like drank too much and like did some stuff. I'm like, oh my God, so it's kind of a fun thing to do that, and this movie has a lot of wish fulfillment in it for a lot of people, I think. And I look at it still now, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to move to New York City and live in that apartment and have that life. You know?
Oh, it would be a good romantic comedy if there was some wish
Hey, and I
fulfillment,
take issue with the romantic comedy label.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a comedy than a romantic comedy, and I think people tend to apply the word romantic comedy to movies that star women. And I think just because you're sort of talking about relationship issues doesn't necessarily mean that it's romantic comedy. I mean, the conceit of this movie is actually sort of the opposite, which is that anytime anyone gets in, spoiler alert, you know, you don't show the relationships in this movie. You actually just show everything besides the relationships. So in a way, it's kind of like the anti-romantic comedy. It still has all that emotion in it, and it's surprising how much you end up caring about the people and how emotional you end up getting. But first and foremost, it's kind of like a balls to the wall comedy where we just like really tried to make people laugh as much as possible.
Right. Let's get real for a second about the Hollywood screenwriting process.
Yes.
This is a Warner Brothers comedy. It deals with relationship issues. Coming out at Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Kind of fits a slot. So you must get some unwelcome notes with a movie that is kind of this big or just a lot riding on it. Like, couldn't characters all hang on a quiz notes or something like that? Did you have to fend off any of that kind of?
You know, I actually feel like in this particular one, I've been really blessed with not a lot of bad notes. Like, our partners at the studio at New Line and Warner Brothers, they were kind of amazing. And I feel a little bit like I don't want to say it because I don't want to ruin it. Because usually it is exactly what you're talking about. You get a lot of really, really, really bad notes. But the guys that we worked with on this one, mostly it was dudes. They had really, really great notes, and they kind of knew what we were all trying to make something that felt a little bit anthemic and felt a little bit like, Bridesmaids meets Love Actually, and just kind of like a mashup of that feeling, so that a certain generation of people, like, if you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, you could watch it and be like, that is for me, that movie is for me. And we kind of want it to be the kind of movie that you want to watch over and over again. So we tried to kind of like we hope that the end of the movie feels like the beginning of the next movie in a way. And I would say,
will there be a How to Be Single 2?
I hope so. I mean, you got to make it happen, dude. You got to get people to see the movie. But hopefully there will be, because there's so much fertile territory that we didn't explore. That was our biggest challenge, was we had such a long script because we sort of fell in love with every character and all of their storylines, and then we ultimately had to sort of pare it down into a movie that people could see in one sitting without having to go to the bathroom and ruin it. Like Eric von Stroheim's Greed.
Yeah.
We could do like a How to Be Single version of that for sure. We could do like a 7-hour version of this movie. We all loved it so much.
Wade across the cutter and fora.
We did get the one note that we did sort of hear that we kind of did have to worry about was can the whole movie, there's definitely a sense that there was a little bit of a fear that the audience might want the movie sort of wrapped up a little bit more in a bow. And so we kind of were cognizant that we might have to do that, but we didn't want to do that because we wanted it to feel really real and sort of like life.
Yeah.
And so ultimately we didn't have to do that. So that's
Did testing save you there? Did you?
Because people really loved it.
Yeah.
They loved the ending, so we didn't have to change it. It was pretty amazing.
So one of the things the movie gets into is the tension between neurosis and hedonism out on the dating scene, the deep end of the single dating pool. What did you hope to bring out about dating attitudes, and perhaps especially about kind of ditching guilt out there?
Ditching guilt. Oh, that's such a good point. I mean, I am a big person. I'm a big believer in we do a lot of stuff to each other in the society. We're very hard on each other, especially women. Women are hard on other women, and women are very hard on themselves. And I just I'm not doing it, man. I'm not going to trade in it. I don't believe in it. I love other women. I love other women who help other women. I like being nice to other women. So that was a big message I kind of wanted to get out there. And I also wanted to get out there the message that society sort of tells you that you're not complete, or not done, or not worth anything unless you're married and you have your kids and you have your Facebook page with your zillions of kids. And I have that, and I'm so happy, and it's wonderful, and I have friends who have that, and I'm so happy, and it's wonderful. But I also wanted to say, that's cool, that's awesome, I love it, but also, don't worry if you haven't found it yet, man. It's all okay, everybody's okay, we're all going to be okay, and it might not look the way we thought it was going to look, but, try to enjoy the journey and try to have more fun on the journey and, spread your love, man. I guess I'm like a hippie and not even realizing it until I'm talking.
No, it's good, it's good. So were there any particular how to be single tips that didn't make the final cut?
Oh my god, there's 400,000 how to be single tips that didn't make the final cut. I wish I could think of like anything right now, but there's just, there's a lot. I mean, like I have things in my head that, you know, we never even end up putting on paper, where it's like, you know, order 2 driver's licenses, like say that you lost one so you have another one because you're definitely going to lose one. I mean, like just like all these crazy things that we talked about, and you know, just sort of a way to make it like this is a superhero movie in a way, where Rebel Wilson is the superhero that teaches you.
I thought she was going to be revealed as a guardian angel or something.
Right. But she's revealed as a real person.
Right. Exactly.
Which is sort of it's almost like a surprising twist because she's sort of so nuts during the movie.
And so magical.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me about the Fempire. Is that group still in session?
You know, we were never like a formal group, but we didn't like write necessarily together, but we are all genuinely sort of best friends. I mean, I think I got together with that exact group of people, plus our friend Dan and our friend Sarah, like maybe a week and a half ago.
And you should
like,
tell who those people are.
Diablo Cody, Lorene Scafaria, and Elizabeth Merriweather, who they're all just like the world's most incredible writers and incredible people, and Lorene's an incredible director, and Diablo's an incredible director. I mean, and then my friend Katie Silverman, who was such a huge help in this movie, her stamp is sort of all over it. You know, she's sort of honorary member. And, you know, we're just really good friends, and we really love each other. And like I said, that's our sort of, we don't have like some formal manifesto, but like we all really, really want each other to succeed. And so we'll do anything to help each other and, you know, tag in at any moment. And sometimes that just means like, I'm bringing a bottle of wine over right now, and like, you're exhausted and I'm going to carry your baby while you sleep, or whatever, you know, whatever it is. Whatever it requires, we're just sort of there for each other. And you know, you have your family, and then you have your friends, and sometimes your friends sort of become your family that you choose, and that's sort of what we are to each other. So.
Well, I've got to get you off to meet your public, but it's been great talking to you.
It's so awesome talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.